The air went still the second he said it. That kind of comment doesn't echo, it thuds. You could practically hear the skin crawl off a few faces. I didn't look up. Didn't need to. When men like Reese bark like that, they want the reaction. They want the startled eye contact, the fake little laugh, the deference. I gave him none of it. Just circled a clause in the implementation brief with my pen like I was editing a grocery list. But inside, I was clocking him. The watch your back kind of clocking. Origination validation requires signature of primary infrastructure author, I underlined slowly. And that author? Me. Reese didn't know it yet, but his little power flex just stomped straight onto the landmine he thought was a rug. I've always lived in the margins. That's not a metaphor. I mean literal margins. Of notebooks, of white papers, of compliance documentation where the big names go in bold and mine goes in 10 PT Courier, right aligned. That's where the real signatures live. The ones that make or break federal submissions. The ones that give your diagnostic platform a shot at not getting blacklisted during FDA audits. I never asked to be front-facing. You build cleaner systems in the background anyway. But the second Reese made that joke, I felt it shift. He didn't just mock me. He marked me, made me a variable, a number to round down, a threat, if only he'd known what to be afraid of. That's the thing with people like him. They don't look at quiet women in the corner and see scaffolding. They see clutter. They think the structure just happens to hold. If you're still with me, this is the part where I ask something small, but important. If you're listening to this story and haven't yet subscribed or tapped that like button, please do. I know it sounds like a tiny thing, but it helps us keep telling these stories. Ones that never make the company newsletter, but damn sure deserve to be heard. So if this one pulls you in, show the team some love. Back to Reese. He had that startup guy's smirk. Tight, rehearsed, more teeth than empathy. I clocked his watch. Silver Mont Blanc, too shiny for someone supposedly in health tech for the mission. His shoes said airport lounge. His slide said vision. I bet he practiced lines like that DEI quip in the mirror. Probably landed better with his golf buddies. Still, no one in the room pushed back. Not the junior product lead, not the project manager, not even the HR partner who used to bring me soy lattes during long sprint nights. Silence like that doesn't happen by accident. It happens when everyone's doing the same math. Who matters and who doesn't. I've been counted out more times than I can remember. But you know what makes it sting less? Owning the damn ledger. The rest of that kickoff felt like theater. Reese paraded slide decks like gospel, rattled off buzzwords like he had a subscription. Omnichannel trust layer. Real-time synergies. I could practically see his LinkedIn endorsements writing themselves. Meanwhile, I noted every misquote, every glossed-over dependency, every time he promised a go-live date that didn't factor in licensing lead times or international compliance overrides, or the physical fact that someone, me, still had to sign the architecture sheets for it all to work. He talked like systems were fairy dust. Like infrastructure could be finessed with confidence and charisma, but charm doesn't keep APIs from failing during FDA audits, and swagger doesn't replace an authenticated author key on your regulatory gateway. I watched, listened, annotated, and right there on page 14 of the deck he never even glanced at, just beneath the clause he skimmed past, I initialed my spot, dated it, and folded it back into my manila folder. He wouldn't see it until it was too late. But oh, he would see it. The folder was gone from the agenda packet. I noticed it right away, my name missing from the lineup. No walkthrough, no seat at the table, just erased. Not declined, not reassigned, removed. Reese's assistant caught me in the hallway with that voice that sounds like it's been rehearsed in HR webinars. There was a little mix-up with invites. Nothing personal, just streamlining for optics. Client-facing roles only. She said it like I should thank her. I didn't argue. I've learned it's better to let people tighten their own noose. I nodded, even smiled a little, then walked straight to my desk and added the interaction to my ledger. Time, date, exact wording. I treat moments like that the same way I treat system errors. Document thoroughly, in real time. Because sooner or later, someone always tries to audit the past. And when that happens, I don't give them opinions, I give them receipts. This wasn't just exclusion. This was procedural interference. MedAccess's procurement contract, drafted by no less than 4 lawyers, stipulated that 2 roles had binding oversight on technical validation, the certified architect of record and the intellectual property steward. 2 check marks. Without them, the entire platform deal was unenforceable under Clause 9.3b. Guess who held both titles? That's right. Me, not Reese, not his consultant with a flashy wrist tattoo and a WeWork background, not the junior PM who once called me the binder lady behind my back. Me. But Reese didn't even know the clause existed. You could tell by how loose he was about it all. He thought if he used enough marketing jargon and copied enough design frameworks from his failed fintech app, the platform would somehow become valuable. Like buzzwords were code and code was magic. He waltzed through the second strategy session like it was a stage, talking about efficiency pivots and semantic trust scaffolding. I've seen middle school science fairs with more discipline. When he finally turned to me, halfway through his 5th monologue, he pointed at my folder like it offended him. "What is this? The 90s?" He smirked. "You guys still fax too?" A few people chuckled. Not with him, with the room. Nervous laughter. The kind people do when they're too scared to correct their boss, but too ashamed to agree. I didn't flinch, just clicked my pen and wrote his quote in the margin of my meeting log. Underlined it twice. That's all it took to seal what came next. Because if there's one thing I've learned from a decade of being quiet in loud rooms, it's this. Jokes like that always come back to bite, just not right away. They hang there, like rot in the ductwork. I spent the rest of the meeting tracing the compliance ladder, checking document versions, cross-referencing dates. Every API handoff that bore my initials. Every encryption module keyed off my protocol. Every dependency baked into the MedAccess escrow agreement that only I could unlock. And just to be thorough, I pulled the original architecture charter from our local archive. Guess whose name appears in the final authority block, signed and time-stamped by the outgoing CTO 2 weeks before Reese even set foot in the building? Not his. But I didn't grandstand. I didn't flash it around like a threat. No, I just placed it gently back in the folder he mocked and tucked it into my drawer. Let him keep pruning me out of meetings. Every time he cut me, he left a paper trail, and I was collecting every sheet. The room smelled like overheated espresso pods and ego. Reese had commandeered the whiteboard before the session even started, sketching chaotic arrows that made the privacy flowchart look like a toddler's treasure map. He was in full performance mode, tapping markers, gesturing wildly, using phrases like granular scaffolding and zero-touch audit architecture, which, to be clear, meant absolutely nothing. The EU Compliance Council sat stiffly in the front row, flanked by 2 MedAccess reps and an external observer from their legal team. Real suits. People who'd flagged multiple global vendors for GDPR violations in the last year alone. They weren't here for a show. They were here to make sure Lexora's diagnostic platform wouldn't implode under regulatory scrutiny once the deal closed. Reese didn't notice, or didn't care. I sat back, flipping through the printout of our latest compliance policy. On page 9, he'd flipped a clause, said we were using a local legitimate interest model for data persistence in Germany. Problem was, that model had been deprecated 6 months ago. I knew because I'd rewritten the data controller guidance myself in Redline with annotations submitted to our privacy board. I'd even been the one to flag the external counsel opinion that got it removed. I reached across the table, tore off a small post-it, and wrote the correction. Quiet. No drama. Slid it toward him with the gentleness you'd offer a rookie chef before they salted a dish with sugar. He froze when he saw it. Then he chuckled, loud enough to draw everyone's eyes. "Excuse me," he said, raising his voice with faux offense. "I've managed 6 rollouts in 2 years. Don't clarify me in front of buyers?" The room fell into that weird, dead silence. Not the shocked kind, just the uneasy one. Like everyone suddenly realized they were in a room with an unstable fuse. Across the table, the MedAccess legal partner slowly raised an eyebrow. Reese grinned, but it was thinner now. Nervous. He moved on like nothing happened. But the temperature had dropped 5 degrees, and the Compliance Council began writing faster. I didn't defend myself. Didn't engage. I just opened my folder, flipped 3 pages in, and pulled the original implementation charter. My signature sat neatly beside the system spec. The clause, Reese botched, highlighted, dated, initialed, by me. I didn't hold it up. Didn't say a word, just made sure it was visible before calmly folding it back into the folder. The room moved on, but they saw it. Oh, they saw it. Later that afternoon, I was walking back from the printer when one of the MedAccess leads caught up to me. Tall, mid-40s, the kind of guy who probably ran marathons without telling anyone about it. He slowed as we reached the corridor outside conference room B. "You're the one who built the integrity mesh, aren't you?" It wasn't a question. I paused just long enough to let him feel the weight of it, then gave a slight smile. The kind that doesn't offer more, but doesn't deny it either. And I kept walking, because when the architecture holds, you don't need to announce who built it. They figure it out eventually. The request came in quietly, as they often do when legal teams start smelling smoke. No CC to Reese, no looping in stakeholders' email chain. Just a direct line from MedAccess Compliance Council to my inbox. Please provide documentation verifying authorship and infrastructure stewardship for the diagnostic platform, including implementation history and architectural attestation. They knew. Not everything. Not yet. But they'd seen enough cracks in Reese's bravado to start checking the beams. I didn't panic. I didn't even blink. Because I don't claim authorship, I archive it. Time-stamped version histories, draft lineage from day 0 to present, licensing logs, access credentials, metadata fingerprints embedded in every planning doc, down to font changes. I don't build platforms to look pretty in pitches. I build them to survive audits, lawsuits, and IPOs. Within 2 hours, I sent them a PDF packet so dense and well-organized it could have qualified as a master's thesis. Page 1. Notarized delegation memo from our former CTO, dated, signed, and countersigned, explicitly naming me as the final architectural authority on Lexora's diagnostic mesh. Page 2 through 47. Tracked edits, embedded compliance flags, source authorship tags, and data pipeline lineage. Page 48. The attestation cover sheet filed with the FDA. Name at the bottom? D. Stroud. Not strategic ops. Not VP, just the woman with the folder Reese kept mocking. The response from MedAccess was swift, but not loud. A quiet nod from legal. A line item added to the stakeholder schedule with my name now bolded. The lead buyer didn't announce it. He didn't need to. He just rerouted every remaining meeting to include me. No explanation given, none needed. And still, Reese paraded around like it was his show. He walked into the Thursday vendor check-in wearing a new watch, brushed steel, obnoxiously large, spent 15 minutes talking about building trust through narrative continuity, then pitched his new tagline for the platform: technical trust, human-first delivery. The irony nearly choked me. Behind him, I watched as the MedAccess Council flipped through my documents, slowly, deliberately, her pen underlining each of my initials in the infrastructure spec. 22 placements in total. 22 silent anchors holding the whole damn thing together. I wasn't angry. Anger takes energy. I was just ready. Because when the walls start to shake, it's not the loudest voice that saves you. It's the one who built the foundation and wrote down every brick. The room was already humming when he walked in, late as usual, but with the kind of arrogance that makes lateness look like a power play instead of poor time management. Final negotiation day. This was it. Everyone who mattered was in that room. The full MedAccess delegation, Lexora's board, legal, compliance, Tall Pine Capital's lead investor, even an external auditor brought in to validate the escrow clauses. It was the kind of meeting that ends careers or launches them. Reese thought it was his coronation. He slammed a branded folder on the table like it contained something original. Probably another slide deck he'd outsourced to the same agency that made his LinkedIn banner. He swept his eyes across the table like a magician looking for a mark, until they landed on me. I was seated near the edge, quiet as ever, with my folder flat and closed. Then he said it. "Do you even know who I am?" No smirk this time. No wink. Just the snap of insecurity wrapped in a loud man's voice, desperate to land a punch before the room caught on that he was bluffing. No one moved. No one laughed. I didn't answer. Just reached into my bag, took out a clean business card, and slid it across the polished oak table to MedAccess's lead counsel without a word. He picked it up like it might be a joke. Read the name, read the title. His eyes tracked down the print line where my signature sat beside 2 federal registration numbers. Then his expression changed. Not surprised. Just adjusted. Like someone realizing they'd been holding a map upside down this whole time. He didn't say a word. He just passed the card down the line to the man from Tall Pine Capital. You could hear the whisper of cardstock sliding across wood. The investor took one look, then slowly raised his gaze to Reese. And what came out next wasn't anger, wasn't laughter. It was colder than that. Actually, kid, do you know who she is? The silence was glacial. Not dramatic, not performative, just the kind that lands like a gavel. Reese blinked. He looked down as if the table might have a cue card hidden somewhere. His posture shifted, not much, but enough to show he felt the ground move under him. And no one came to help. Not the board chair, not his own assistant, not the marketing director who'd parroted his phrases for weeks. Everyone just watched. Because now it was clear. All those weeks of skipping my name, all those decisions to sideline, to patronize, to belittle, they hadn't erased me, they'd exposed him. I didn't smile, didn't gloat. Just opened my folder slowly, like a clock striking the hour. And for the first time since he arrived, Reese said nothing at all. It was almost elegant, the way it happened. No raised voices, no accusations. Just a slow, surgical unraveling of everything Reese had constructed with ego and assumption. The buyer's lead counsel set his Mont Blanc pen down with a click that sounded louder than it should have in that carpeted room. Everyone went still. Even the head of Lexora's board, who had been checking emails beneath the table since Minute 5, looked up. "We can't continue," the counsel said, turning toward Lexora's side of the table, "without Dahlia Stroud's sign-off on system alignment and deployment thresholds. Not technical sign-off, not informal approval, not a check-in from Reese's team. They used my full name, my role, my authority." Reese blinked, then scoffed like someone who still believed bluster might save him. "She's a support role," he said, loud enough for the back row. "Her team reports to me. We don't need sign-off from infrastructure admin." That's when the investor leaned forward. "No, son," he said, voice measured, calm, almost fatherly in its finality. "Her work defines the terms. Without her authentication, this deal is legally unexecutable." You could feel the silence drop like a pane of glass. No rebuttal, no laugh, just the weight of truth landing where posturing used to live. MedAxis Legal nodded. Lexora's general counsel, who had sat like a statue through most of Reese's theatrics, finally spoke. "Ms. Stroud holds the active IP custodian key," she said. "Her sign-off is baked into every clause tied to licensing, transfer protocols, and jurisdictional compliance. Without that, the escrow agreement defaults." Then came the quiet horror show on Reese's face. Not rage, not confusion, recognition. He looked at me like he was finally seeing something he didn't know existed, a firewall he couldn't breach with charm or seniority, and I didn't say a word, didn't gloat, didn't even blink. I just opened my folder, that same old manila folder he'd mocked every time he saw it, the one he thought meant outdated, obsolete, unimportant. I laid it flat on the table in front of me, turned it so the time-stamped attestation packet faced outward, and waited. The buyer leaned in, scanned the top page, and made a note in the margin, then nodded. That was it. The deal could move forward, if I said so. Reese looked around the room, maybe hoping someone would throw him a rope. But everyone's eyes were on the folder, because when the foundation speaks, even the flashiest walls go quiet. The email stopped including his name around 11:48 a.m., no fanfare. No notice, just gone. The integration thread refreshed, and Reese's little bubble icon didn't appear anymore. He had been silently unsynced from the very machine he claimed to operate. By noon, his name vanished from the stakeholder call roster. By 2:15, a whisper swept through the 8th floor like a summer storm warning. Reese is being walked out. A security manager with a badge reader hovered by his desk. His assistant quietly packed a branded coffee tumbler into a plain white box. By 3:04 p.m., the formal HR memo dropped into the internal archive. Reason: breach of procedural integrity. No one objected. No one even asked for clarification. The floor stayed unnaturally quiet for the rest of the afternoon. Like everyone knew, loud reactions might draw attention to whatever they'd ignored too long. I stayed in my seat. Didn't peek over the cubicle. Didn't sigh. Just adjusted the alignment on the deployment schedule and flagged 3 API handoffs for pre-launch review. By 3:45, I had a new invite in my inbox. Subject line, Integration Framework Lead, Stroud. MedAxis wanted me to co-present the architecture plan alongside their deployment team. No VP, no assistant filter, no optional attendee tag. Just a formal note and a line that read, "Looking forward to hearing your full insight on legacy dependencies and structural permanence." I accepted without a comment. That evening, the founder of Lexora finally made it onto a call. He'd been in Dubai closing out a licensing partnership and missed the chaos. His face flickered onto the projection screen mid-meeting, jet-lagged but alert. The CFO leaned in and murmured something to him off camera. A name. He blinked, then leaned closer to the screen, scanning the room, stopping when his eyes landed on me. "That's her?" he said, barely above a whisper. A pause. Then, smiling softly to himself, "Well, that explains why the damn thing always worked." Nobody laughed. Not out of discomfort, but respect. He didn't elaborate, didn't congratulate, he just let the statement hang in the air like a ribbon being cut, and the meeting moved on. When it was my turn, I spoke once, outlining the full integration phasing, risk buffers, architectural rollback safeguards, and the updated compliance sync map. No drama, no embellishment, just the truth. And then I closed the slide deck, turned off my mic, and let the room carry on, because the correction had already happened. The noise was gone. Only the structure remained. It felt almost anticlimactic, the way truth settles in, not with celebration, but with correction. The final compliance memo left my desk at 6:42 p.m. on a quiet Friday. 64 pages, 12 embedded certifications, 3 legal attachments, and 1 signature. Mine, bold, centered, and unmarred by anyone else's name trying to hover above it. I printed a single hard copy, hole-punched it, and clipped it into the binder I'd used since Lexora was still renting half a floor and praying for Series B. Then I uploaded the digitized version into the compliance archive, cross-referenced by 8 metadata tags I designed myself back when no one thought documentation was a system. By the time I shut my laptop, the air smelled like printer toner and old carpet adhesive. The world didn't change overnight. The building didn't applaud. But something had shifted. Saturday morning, the board convened. Not a scheduled meeting, just one of those necessary corrections that suddenly becomes priority when investors start using words like continuity risk and regulatory resilience. They didn't waste time. There was no debate, not even posturing. The motion passed unanimously. Lexora would formally recognize a new executive title, Chief Architect of Record, a role that didn't exist on any org chart, until now. My name was the first one to fill it. They didn't ask if I wanted it, they just stamped it. Across the conference table, the investor from Tall Pine didn't even raise his hand to vote. He just gave one slow nod and wrote something in his notebook. By Monday, Reese's desk was already scrubbed. His dual monitor setup had been reassigned to an analyst 2 floors down. His corporate laptop was flagged inactive in the system. No goodbye email, no lessons learned blog post. Just a login timeout and a forgotten desk plant that wilted by noon. No one mourned the absence. They just adjusted. It reached out to me for the infrastructure credential rekeying. Legal submitted a request for document authorship clarifications to reflect current authority. Marketing asked if I'd be willing to approve updated copy for a post-deal technical stability newsletter. I gave them 6 bullet points and told them to remove all buzzwords. They listened. My old binder, battered, annotated, bent at one corner, was scanned cover to cover, its contents indexed, cataloged, turned into the official onboarding packet for all incoming architecture hires. No one threw a party. There was no press release. HR didn't ask for a headshot. Because this wasn't about recognition, it was about structure. And when structure stands, the people who built it don't need spotlights. They just need to be left in place. The ink had barely dried when the numbers were announced. $342 million finalized with a $22 million bump directly credited to what the report called infrastructure confidence metrics. In other words, my architecture. Stability that didn't crack under buyer scrutiny or audit pressure or one man's vanity. No one said my name during the press release. I didn't expect them to. But behind the scenes, the room knew. The celebratory dinner was held at a converted estate upstate, wine that tasted like secrets and a view that looked expensive just to breathe in. Mahogany chairs, private servers, a pianist playing standards no one asked for. Tall Pine's late investor requested I sit to his right, not at the far end, not at the technical table, at his side. MedAxis's CEO raised a glass mid-meal, a clean, elegant toast, to the invisible architects, and the lines they draw so the rest of us don't fall through. Polite applause, not the loud kind, the kind that means something. Halfway through dessert, a junior paralegal from MedAxis leaned over, young, eager, a little flushed from the wine. She whispered, "I'm sorry, your name wasn't in any of the briefings. What's your role again?" I smiled politely, took a sip of water, and answered without blinking. "Just someone who reads the footnotes." She nodded like she understood, even though she didn't. But one day, she might. Back at Lexora's headquarters, they'd made one quiet change. In the main hallway, beside the framed launch announcement from our earliest diagnostic release, a new display had been mounted. A manila folder, faded from years of use, worn edges, pages still in my handwriting, notations, flags, underlines, the same folder Reese once mocked in front of a room full of buyers. Behind glass now. Underneath, etched into a steel plate in clean serif font, was a single line. When the foundation signs, the rest can stand. No title, no name, just truth.